I am Christiane Maurer. I'm an artist working with textiles, and I'm especially a weaver. I'm German by origin, but I live since more than 30 years in the Netherlands. All my textiles till now are woven. They are double weaves, hand woven on a loom, and it lends itself to making strongly graphic designs where colors gradually show up, flow into each other, have confrontations with each other, or disappear again. And this exploring of colors, that's an intriguing process, and that's the motivation for my artwork. My parents traveled a lot with me due to the work, and I spent quite a time in South Africa, in Johannesburg, and there for the first time saw people working on crafts and being creative with little means but making the most beautiful things. And after school I decided to study industrial design. I began in Munich, and then I changed to the University of Arts in Berlin, where I graduated. Afterwards, I wanted to do a PhD and went to Delft University of Technology. I also participated in research on color perception. Since finishing my PhD, I always worked simultaneously as an industrial designer and a researcher. I soon began to develop textiles for the textile industry. Gradually, I realized that I wanted to do my own designs and to realize my own ideas. So that was the moment when I started buying a loom and began my weavings. So I think I gradually slipped from being a researcher and an industrial designer into being an artist. My creation process begins with an idea. The inspiration often comes from nature. When I'm walking, I'm picking up some colors, some textures. Sometimes it's also an emotion I feel and I link it to a color. And that's deeply personal. I then go into my computer, into a digital program where I make lots of color studies. I realize a key piece, which is my initial idea brought into a design. After I've realized that, I move on and study further color combinations on the same principle. The next steps, I bring the designs into a weaving draft, and then I make schemes, how the warp is composed, how the weft has to be in the color orders. Getting the colors right is one difficulty, because you go from an additive color space to a subtractive color space, which are quite different in appearance. Another difficulty is setting up the weaving in itself. The warp in most of my weavings consists of about 2,500 threads, and the order of them has to be exactly as I have designs. So it's quite an intricate process. And then I spool my yarns and I put them in the spooling rack, and eventually begin to set them up on the loom. And after that's finished, and that's the most time-intensive part of my process, I can start to weave. I'm using one main technique. It's called a double weave. It's complex but also very old technique. You have two layers of fabric which can interact with each other and which can stay loose from each other. So they are stitched together where two patterns meet each other. During time I realized that patterns for me are more the places where different colored lines seek each other and interact with each other. So I don't need a lot of patterns, I just need some contours where colored lines can meet each other, can explode or vanish or whatever they do. The series I make often follow one upon the next, and that's because I want to explore one's color scheme or one pattern combination. I see my weaves as steps further and further on in my color exploration. To me, a series is an experiment. The cotton threads I use have qualities I can't bring in the digital design. You will see iridescent color changes when you move in front of them, and I find them really fascinating. Normally, textile persons have their creative process in the making of the textile itself. I turn it around. My creative process is bound entirely to the digital space where I make my designs, and afterwards I realize it by using a machine, a loom. And this digital space allows me to use my color tools to the effects I exactly wanted to have, whereas using a loom as inspiration would result in completely different textiles. My ideas couldn't be realized if I put the creativity in the making itself. And I think it's also fun to play with the concept, because there's such a straight image in arts and in crafts movements, how an artist working with crafts has to be. And I think it's a good thing to shake it up a little bit.